Welcome everyone to a session on Unix programming. In today's session, let us look into the various file related commands. We'll start with the first one, cat. So cat command is used for displaying and creating new files. Okay, so any file name that is passed to the cat as an argument, the cat command will display its content. So the output what I got here, CS1 Unix programming, CS2 in second line, CS2 automata theory. So this will be the content of the file csc.lst, and suppose isc.lst contains isc1 dbms isc2 cn. Okay, now if I uh, pass both these files to cat, that is csc.lst as the first file name argument followed by isc.lst, then cat command will concatenate the contents of both the files csc.lst followed by isc.lst onto the output screen. Okay. So this is why the name cat, okay, stands for concatenation. The options that are available with cat are -v and -n. So -v is used for displaying non-printing characters in the given file, in the file name, and -n stands for numbering, and it will display the line numbers along with the content of the file. Using cat to create a file. The same example will take csc.lst and isc.lst. So if these two file names are passed to cat command and the output is redirected using the redirection symbol new.lst. So what will happen is the combined content of csc.lst followed by isc.lst will be saved in a new file called as new.lst. So this is how you can create a new file using cat command. cp, copying a file. Cp command is used for copying the file. So here in this example, cp is the command and chap1 is the source file, and until is the new file that need to be created. Okay, so what will be the content of until? So it will be having the same content as that of chap1. So basically cp command what it does is it creates a new file that has the content of chap1. So basically it performs copy paste operation. It copies the content of chap1 and paste it in a new file called as until. And it is also possible to create a new file under different directory. Okay, so here the content of chap1, so chap1 will be copied and it will be pasted under a directory called as progs in the current working directory. Okay, so the under current working directory there is a directory called as progs, and under which a new file will be created called as until, which will be having the content of chap1. So this is how uh, the content of chap1 is copied to until under procs. Okay, now what if until already exists? If there is a file until which already exists under procs, then the content will be its content will be overwritten with the content of chap01. Okay, so in this way, so if I don't specify the file name under the directory procs, then chap1 will retain its name under the directory procs. So what happens is under the directory subdirectory progs, a new file will be created which will be having the same name as the source file name, that is chap01. Okay, and it is also possible to give multiple file names to cp command, provided that the last argument passed is the name of the directory. So chap1, chap2, chap3 are the three file names, and the last one, the fourth argument, is procs, which happens to be the directory. So what happens is all these three files, chap1, chap2, chap3, will be copied and pasted under procs. So this is how cp command will take multiple file name, but provided the last argument has to be the directory name. CP option, let us look into the various CP options. Interactive copying with the option -i. So in this way, if I make use of -i as an option, then the system will prompt a message saying, do you want to overwrite until? So if until already exists, then the content of until will be overwritten with the content of chap01. But here it will ask the user, it will have an interactive session with the user, and it asks whether you want to overwrite or not. So if the user presses Y, then the content of until will be overwritten with the content of chap01. And if we press no, N, the content will not be overwritten, the copy operation will be terminated. So copying directory structure, okay, with the option -R. So using -R, what we can do is we can copy multiple, we can copy the entire directory structure. Okay, so in this case, the entire procs is the directory name, so it will be its content, it will be having multiple files, right? So all these files will be copied under a new directory name, new procs. Okay, so this is normally used, -r is normally used in a recursive copying. So normally that happens when you want to copy the entire directory structure. Okay, so all the contents of procs will be copied, and a new directory will be created that will be having the exact content of procs. Okay, its name is new procs. So both of these are the directory names. Now let us look into rm command, which is used for deleting files. Here in this example, rm accepts three file name arguments, chap01, chap02, and chap03, which will be removed one by one in the order how it is passed to the rm command. And it is also possible to have interactive deletion by making use of the option -i. So in this way, if I make use of -i in the command line, then the system will prompt a question. It will confirm with the user whether these file names need to be deleted or not. Okay, so it will have an interaction with the user, and if the user wishes to remove, he will press Y. The file chap01 will be removed in this case, and if a user presses N, then file will not be removed. And if the user doesn't specify, if it doesn't answer the question, and it simply ignores the question by pressing enter, then the file will not be removed. Okay, so it will be as same as N. Recursive deletion. So it is also possible to have deletion operation performed in a recursive way. So example, so that can be done by making use of the option -r, small letter r or capital letter R. So in this way, if a directory name is passed to rm command, the entire content of the directories, including the subdirectory and its content, will be removed one by one. Okay, so it will empty the content of subdirectories and remove the files in a hierarchical way, and finally it will remove the directory procs itself. So this can be done in a recursive way by making use of the rm command with option -r. Forceful removal. So rm command with -r can be made more effective by making use of the option -f. So what is forceful removal? Some of the files in the directory structure will be having a protection, that is a write protection. So if the file is having a write protection, then it cannot be removed by making use of rm command. So this -f will override this protection, and enables the rm command to remove it. Okay, So this will remove all the files in the all the contents of procs recursively, and the one which is having protection will be forcefully removed by making use of the option -f. So this is about rm command. Now let us see mv command. Mv command is used for moving files and also for renaming files. So this two operation depends on the number of arguments that are passed to mv command. So in this example, we do rename operation. So chap1 is a file that is renamed to chapter 2. So first file name argument is the source file name that need to be renamed to chapter 1. Okay. So in this way I can perform rename operation, and this rename operation will not create a new file. Okay. It simply changes the name of the file, that's it. So file the size of the directory or size of the disk will not be increased by making use of mv command. Now we are performing moving operation. So if I specify multiple file names to mv command, it performs moving operation. So what is moving? So moving I can relate it to cut paste operation. So chap1, chap2, chap3, these are the file names, and one important condition is the final file name should be a directory name. So here procs, right? So this is a directory. So what happens is the files chap1, chap2, chap3 will be moved from the current working directory to procs. Okay. So it's like removing chap1, chap2, chap3 and pasting it in procs, in the directory procs. It is also possible to rename the entire directory by specifying directory as an argument to mv. Okay. So if I specify procs happens to be the directory name. So in this case, the directory name procs will be renamed to programs. Now finally, let us look into od command, which is used for displaying data in octal. So not necessarily octal, actually this is used to convert the content of input in different formats, with the octal being as the default format. Okay. And it is also possible to display the output in a variety of other formats, including hexadecimal, decimal and ASCII. It is useful for visualization data that is not in human readable format. Okay. So let us consider this particular example, a.c. Okay. a.c is a C programming file, and this is the content which is displayed by making use of cat command. As very clearly seen, see the new line characters are not displayed, right? Even the tab characters are not displayed. So all these characters can be made visible by making use of the option -c. Okay. So it displays every character in the file. So od command with the option C will displays every character in the file. So as you can see, even /n and /t are displayed, right? And these numbers are nothing but the byte offset of the file. And the option -b displays the octal value of each character separately in the file. So each and every character in the content of the file and its octal value will be displayed by making use of -b. Okay. So if I have to combine it with the -c, then I will get the octal value in the first line, and in the second line I will get the character representation of each and every character in the file. Okay. So first line will display its the characters octal equivalent. Okay. So here 043 represent the octal value of hash, and 151 represents the octal value of I. Okay. So including /n, right? You can see the octal value, and /t, which happens to be 011. So in this way, by making use of od command, I can display the content of a file in varieties of format, and octal being its default format. So this is about od command.